Welcome back. According to the International Monetary Fund, at the end of 2011, Zimbabwe's external debt stood at 10.7 billion US dollars. That's almost 100 billion rand. The finance minister has been banking on the diamond industry to improve revenue. But as recently as this month, Tendai Biti complained that profits made from the country's diamonds are not reaching state coffers. Last year, he expected the industry to inject $300 million into the fiscus, but he says he only received 40 million. And the government is supposed to be a 50% shareholder in the mines. A frustrated Biti recently said if Treasury was receiving cash from the sale of diamonds, we should not be begging for cash from donors. So if South Africa gives Zimbabwe the 900 million rand that they're reportedly requesting, where will it end up? To help us make sense of how things work in Zimbabwe is economist Vince Musewe, who joins us from the capital, Harare. Vince, thank you so very much for giving us your time here. Is Zimbabwe broke or not?
There's serious suspicion that, one, Zimbabwe is making a lot of money, but there's a lot of leakages on what gets to the treasury at the end of the day.
Exactly on that point, Vince, the Minister of Finance has been complaining for years that he's not getting all of the diamond money. Now, how can South Africans be assured that the money that they may loan to Zimbabwe won't end up in the hands of politicians?
As long as the money goes straight to the Ministry of Finance, it doesn't go to anywhere else, then we're quite comfortable that it will be used for the purposes that it's set for.
But here in South Africa, we're hearing from the South African Treasury that the money will be channeled between the two reserve banks.
Yes,
meaning that maybe this may end up in the hands of somebody like Gideon Garner, who's the governor of the Reserve Bank there in Zimbabwe. I mean, this is a man that's accused of printing the Zim dollar into extinction and basically treating the Reserve Bank as if it was the bank account of ZANU-PF.
I don't think even Gideon Garner has any means or ways to actually touch that money as far as the ministry is concerned. So, I wouldn't be really worried that it's going to be misspent. The problem we have in Kepile is there is no accountability of the total mining revenue. That is where the fundamental issue is. In that there are side deals that are happening that the government doesn't know about, well, the minister doesn't know about. But when it comes to bilateral funding issues, there has been no issues regarding, money disappearing or being used for the wrong thing.
You believe that South Africa should loan Zimbabwe this money. Why?
Well, I think that it's in the interest of South Africa. One thing I've always looked at is that we tend to look at ourselves as separate, but I can tell you that whatever happens in Zimbabwe has a significant impact on what happens in South Africa, whether we like it or not.
Thanks for that, Vince. Now, this week, we celebrate Freedom Day as an opportunity to reflect on our achievements and critically assess our shortcomings. Funny enough, our comedians naturally do that on a daily basis, and their candid interpretation of what goes on here has caught the world's attention.
I wonder who else Jacob was borrowing money from. Well, South Africa, tell you what. We've got some tapes.
Musholos, is that you?
Yes, it's me.
Wait, don't tell me. Let me guess. You need to borrow money again.
Well, it is very hard. Nobody wants to help. Julius, please help.
Zum himself.
Replace the name Zuma with Mugabe, and that joke becomes a criminal offense in Zimbabwe.
Financial paper trail.
In South Africa, the president has for years provided abundant mocking material for our comedians. In an article, the UK Guardian told its readers that when it comes to politics, there are no sacred cows in South Africa, and lampooning the president is a formality.
As a journalist who travels all around Africa, and I've met artists and comedians in other countries, what's really striking in South Africa is the freedom of speech that they have. There seem to be almost no sacred cows, and when I went to the Trevor Noah show, he himself made the point that if I criticised the president in this way in many other African countries, I'd be dead by now. That's how I know South Africa has a strong constitution and has freedom of speech. He was doing an impersonation of Jacob Zuma in his dressing gown, in a bedroom, talking to one of his wives on the bed. and you think, well, if I just went a short distance north of here to Zimbabwe, the idea of a Zimbabwean comedian saying that about Robert Mugabe is pretty unthinkable. Clearly there do seem to be some elements in the ANC that, you know, seek to curtail these freedoms and regard criticism of the party or the president as somehow overstepping a boundary. You know, when those politicians make those power grabs, you see instantly the backlash, the uproar from civil society, from the media, and from comedians. It's a very feisty society where, you know, it's hard for people to get away with that. There's a great hypersensitivity. There's a great sort of observational awareness.
Here's hoping you don't take yourself too seriously this Freedom Day. Have a good one. I'm Zimbabwean Economist, and you've been watching Outside Eye, your global perspective on South Africa in 15 minutes.
News that moves. ENCA.com.